The air between the two houses was always a little cold. Mr. Jenkins lived in number 24. He liked quiet order and his prize-winning roses. Mrs. Arroyo lived in number 26. She loved color, music, and her wild, untidy vegetable patch. A tall, wooden fence stood between their gardens. It was like a line drawn in the sand. For years, they had a quiet war. Mr. Jenkins would frown when Mrs. Arroyo's tomato plants leaned over the fence. Mrs. Arroyo would turn up her radio when Mr. Jenkins used his very loud leaf blower. They rarely spoke. A nod, a brief, cold good morning. That was all. Their gardens reflected their hearts. One was perfectly organized. The other was joyfully chaotic. The trouble began with the snap peas. Mrs. Arroyo's snap peas were energetic climbers. One morning, Mr. Jenkins saw a dozen green tendrils reaching over the fence. They were wrapping themselves around his perfect white rose trellis. He was horrified. His beautiful, orderly world was being invaded. He took his garden shears. He marched outside. He was ready to cut the vines away. But as he raised the shears, he stopped. He saw the peas up close. Little white flowers. Tiny, perfect curls. He saw how gently they held the wood. He remembered something. A long time ago, his wife had grown peas on their balcony. She would laugh, picking them, saying they tasted like spring. The memory was soft and sudden. He lowered the shears. He did not cut. He went back inside, feeling confused. The next day, Mrs. Arroyo saw the peas. She saw them climbing on Mr. Jenkins's side. She felt a flash of embarrassment, then worry. She knew he valued his neat garden. She decided to apologize. It was difficult. She walked to the fence. She called his name. Mr. Jenkins? He came out, his face serious. I am so sorry about the peas, she said. I will pull them back today. Mr. Jenkins looked at the peas, then at her worried face. No, he said. The word surprised them both. It's quite all right. They're no trouble. There was a long silence. It wasn't a cold silence. It was a fragile, new kind of quiet. Mrs. Arroyo smiled a little. They will have peas soon, she said. You can have some if you like. Mr. Jenkins gave a small, stiff nod. Thank you. A week later, a small basket appeared on Mr. Jenkins's porch. In it were the first snap peas, bright green and crisp. There was also a note. For your salads, Maria Arroyo. Mr. Jenkins held a pea pod. It snapped open with a fresh sound. He ate one. It did taste like spring. He felt he should return the gesture. But what? He was not a friendly man. He did not know how to do this. He thought for 2 days. Then, one evening, he cut a single, perfect white rose. Its scent was sweet and gentle. He put it in a simple glass of water. He walked slowly to her door. He knocked. When she opened it, he held out the glass. For your table, he said, his voice rough. A trade. For the peas. Mrs. Arroyo's eyes softened. She took the glass. It's beautiful, she whispered. Thank you, Arthur. The fence did not disappear, but it became less of a wall. One afternoon, Mr. Jenkins was struggling to lift a big bag of soil. Mrs. Arroyo saw him. Without a word, she came over and took one end. Together they moved it. They stood there for a moment, catching their breath. My tomatoes are coming in, she said. Too many for me. Would you like some? He accepted. Soon there was a rhythm. She would leave herbs on his step. He would leave a few roses for her. They began to talk over the fence. Short conversations at first. About the weather. About the birds. Then longer ones. She told him about coming from a faraway country, about missing the sun. He told her about his wife, who had passed away, and how the garden was his company. One Saturday, she played her music outside. It was soft, classical guitar. He listened from his kitchen window. He did not mind the sound. It was nice. It filled the empty space. He made 2 cups of tea. He carried them outside. He offered her one. They sat on her garden bench, one on each side of the fence, and drank tea without speaking, just listening to the music. The real change happened in late summer. A storm was forecast. A big one. Mr. Jenkins secured his roses. He looked over at Mrs. Arroyo's garden. Her tomatoes were heavy on their vines. Her sunflowers were tall. He knew the wind would destroy them. He went to his shed. He found stakes and soft string. He walked into her garden for the first time. He started to carefully tie up the tomato plants. She came out surprised. "Arthur, what are you doing?"
"The storm," he said simply.
"They need support." She watched him, his careful, precise hands working to save her chaotic plants. She joined him. They worked together as the sky darkened. They saved the sunflowers with a tall stake. They moved the pots to shelter. When the first rain fell, they were finishing. They stood under her porch, side by side, watching the rain fall on their two gardens, now mixed into one task. After the storm, the fence looked different. It wasn't a barrier anymore. It was just a piece of wood in a shared space. Mrs. Arroyo had an idea. "You know," she said, "there is a bare spot on my side. Your roses would love the sun there. And on your side, near the fence, the soil is good for my herbs." Mr. Jenkins thought about it. His perfect rose. Her wild patches. "A joint project?" he asked. She nodded. And so, they began. They made a hole in the fence. Just a small one, at the bottom. For the garden to be truly connected. They planted a climbing rose on his side, near the hole. They planted sweet peas on her side. The plants would grow through and meet in the middle. It was a promise, written in leaves and flowers. Now, the gardens are still two gardens. One is neat, one is wild, but they flow into each other. The colors mix, the scents blend, and every evening you will see them. Two neighbors, two friends, sitting on an old bench they placed right where the two gardens meet. They drink tea, they talk, they watch the things they planted together grow. It started with a fence, it ended with a garden, and in the middle, there was simply an understanding, growing slowly, like a green tendril reaching for the light.